Mayor Kumas, members of council, I'm Jim Golden, the city's Director of Finance. This is one of our tape presentations of our priority-based budgeting updates. Priority-based budgeting is an approach to budgeting that we've undertaken over the last few years that evaluates our city programs against the desired results that were identified by the City Council, as well as some key program attributes that are a part of priority-based budgeting. The desired results that were identified by the City Council for the organization for community programs were vibrant amenities and opportunities for all, safe community, a reliable, innovative, and resilient infrastructure, and thriving economic climate. And on this slide, you could see the weighting that was applied to these four desired results by our community through community input that was gathered in 2014. The desired results for governance programs were also identified by the City Council, and they include ensuring timely, responsive, and efficient operations, supporting city operations to be their best, providing clear, inclusive, transparent leadership and collaboration, and developing and maintaining strong partnerships, following local, state, and federal rules, regulations, and mandates, protecting, investing in, and valuing the city's human and physical capital, and prudently managing and responsibly leveraging public funds. Besides these desired results, all of the city's programs are measured against program attributes. And the priority-based budgeting program attributes were identified by the Center for Priority-Based Budgeting that pioneered this approach. The attributes that are used include the mandate to provide a program, reliance on the city to provide the program, the cost recovery of the program, and the portion of the community that is served by the program. So each of our programs are measured against each of these four attributes, as well as their ability to impact the desired results. We have, citywide, we have 1,244 programs that have been identified in this process. 527 of those are in the general fund. And then within those 1,244, we have 737 distinct programs. So we have a number of programs that are offered in multiple areas of the city, different funds, as well as divisions and departments. So there is some repetition, but overall there's 737 distinct programs. Also, these 1,244 programs can be broken down that 1,082 of them are community-oriented, while the remaining 162 are governance-type programs. After all the programs are scored against the desired results and the attributes, they are then given an overall score, and they are then placed in quartiles, quartile 1 through 4, with the highest scoring programs placed in the first quartile and the lowest scoring programs placed in the fourth quartile. And they are placed across these four quartiles through a process of standard deviation. So what we're doing is we have been presenting priority-based budgeting updates to the council. We did our first 3 in person. We're taping the balance of the remaining 10 presentations, and so you'll be getting 10 different priority-based budgeting updates taped delivered to you. We have focused on 3 of the attributes through the presentations that we made to the council. The remaining updates will be on the last attribute and the 9 desired results that were identified. And we'll go through, take each of the updates, we'll go through how each program is influencing the attributes or the results. This is a priority-based budgeting update number 6. This update is on the desired result, Safe Community. Safe Community has the second highest weighting of the 4 desired results, with a weighting of 26.4% from the community. The City Council identified these 6 result definitions to help define how programs could be influencing the safe community result. So the 6 identified results were we provide, in partnership with the community, planning and prevention activities to avoid, mitigate crime, hazards, and disaster. Laws are enforced and justice administered. Health and safety codes and regulations are met and or exceeded where fiscally appropriate. Appropriate response and assistance is provided in times of personal and community need, including emergencies. Safety net services are available and accessible for our vulnerable populations. And then safe, secure, and connected neighborhoods are supported. Program scoring against this result measures whether a program influences these individual results and to what degree it impacts the successful accomplishment of the overall safe community desired result. So as in the past, each of our programs are scored from on a scale of 0 to 4, with 4 being the highest score, meaning that a program has an essential or critical role in achieving the result. This means that it would be extremely difficult for the city to be able to achieve the overall result if this program that's rated a 4 was not offered. A 3 rating has a strong influence on achieving the result. A program rated 2 has some degree of influence on achieving the result. A 1 rating for a program means that it has a minimal influence on achieving the result. And that means that while the program influences the result to some degree, the city could most likely achieve the overall result even if the program were to not be offered. And then finally, a 0 score means that the program has no influence at all on achieving the result. So this chart is the summary of the programs broken down through our current department structure. We have all the way from our smallest departments at the top here of city attorney, city manager, really just offices and not departments, versus large departments like public safety and public works and natural resources. We do have a large spectrum, a diversity of size, but this is our current structure, and so this is how we're presenting this information. And what this chart shows is for each of the 5 degrees of program influence, it breaks it down for how each department's programs and their budgets are falling into each of these 5 categories. The last column, the grand total column, shows that overall we have 1,082 community-oriented programs in the city with an overall budget of $162.5 million. So beginning first in highlighting the number of programs, in the first column, where the program is essential to the result, a score of 4. Public safety has the largest amount of programs there with 68. And in the next column, where a program has a strong influence on the desired result of safe community, we have 50 programs again under public safety. So naturally, the public safety department does have the largest number of programs that have the most influence on the safe community desired result. The third column is where programs have some influence on the result, and Public Works and Natural Resources has 180 programs. And we'll point out that Public Works and Natural Resources overall has 516 programs, so almost half of the overall community-oriented programs in the city. So certainly the largest department by program size, and therefore it's reflected in the number of programs in some of these categories. Public Works and Natural Resources has 158 programs that have some influence on the result, though minimal. And then finally, the Public Works and Natural Resources has 175 programs that have no influence on the safe community desired result. And moving into the cost of programs, which is the green highlight, again, where the program scores a 4 and is essential to the desired result of a safe community, public safety has the largest amount of budget falling in that category at $26.5 million. Public safety, again, has the highest cost for programs that now have a strong influence on the safe community desired result at $4.6 million. And then Public Works and Natural Resources has the highest cost for programs that have some influence on the safe community desired result at $22.8 million. Power and Communications has the highest cost of programs that have minimal influence on the desired result at $58.1 million. And then Community Services has the highest amount of budget at $7.4 million for programs that have no influence on the safe community desired result. So now what we're going to do is look at the general fund programs and how they specifically influence the safe community desired result. The general fund alone has 406 community-oriented programs, and that accounts for $51.75 million of the total overall budget. So what we're going to do is look at some snapshots of the Resource Alignment Diagnostic Tool, which I'm going to call up here. Try to call up here. Wow. This is not going good. Here we go. So again, this is the Resource Alignment Diagnostics Tool, the RAD tool. And we're looking at the general fund alone and how each of the general fund programs impact the safe community desired result. So you can follow this in the prioritization update report that was delivered with this presentation. It begins, this table that I'm looking at, this snapshot of the RAD tool, begins on page 11 of that prioritization update. So what this is showing is programs that are essential to the safe community result, programs that scored a 4 within the general fund. And I'm going to have to make an adjustment here on the fly. Okay, we should be set. All right, sorry, I had to reset that. And so now we are now looking at the programs that are essential to the safe community result from the city's general fund. So we have 60 programs, and they have a total of $24.6 million. These are essential to the safe community result. This is 47.53% of the general fund's community-oriented programs total budget. So now I'll need to make a quick change to the filter. Okay, now we're looking at the programs that have a strong influence on the safe community result from the general fund. We have 57 programs here, budgeted at $6.4 million. That's 12.3% of the general fund budget. You can see that we have $3.7 million of that is shown here on the graph as being as quartile 1 type programs, and $1.7 million in quartile 2. So this is the overall score for the programs, not just how they impact safe community, but their overall program score. And then in the third quartile, we have $924,000 of program budget. Change the filter again, and we will now be looking at programs that have some influence on the safe community result. We have 77 programs in the general fund, community-oriented programs that fall into this category. $4.8 million is the overall budget, 9.3% of the total general fund budget for community-oriented programs. And then we show that we are in the first quartile, $1.4 million of programs, second quartile programs at $1.7 million, and then third quartile programs a little less than $1.7 million showing there as well. And now this, if you're following, is on page 13 of the prioritization update. So moving to the next one, which you will find on page 14, and I will change the filter to reflect those programs that have minimal influence on the community safety desired result. So we are looking at, in this category, we have 106 programs, community-oriented programs in the general fund, budgeted at $9.95 million, 19.2% of the total budget for community-oriented programs in the general fund. We have quartile 1 programs totaling a little over $2 million. We have $4.7 million of quartile 2 programs and $2.6 million of quartile 3 programs. And finally, a very small amount, actually $544,000 of quartile 4 programs. So then the last category will be those programs that have no influence on the community safety desired result. So we have 106 general fund programs that have no influence on this community safety desired result. Almost $6 million of the budget for community-oriented programs, 11.6% overall. Quartile 1 has $1.6 million of such programs. Quartile 2 programs, $2.27 million. In quartile 3, we have $1.87 million of programs. And then finally, $286,000 fall into quartile 4. So really looking at these last two categories of minimal influence and no influence, over half of the community-oriented programs in the general fund fall into one of those two categories of having either no or minimal influence on the community safety desired result. So essentially those programs are not needed to be offered at all to be able to achieve the community safety desired result. I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint, but I don't know. So, son of a gun. All right, so I'll skip the PowerPoint here. You have two lists of two lists that are attached to the prioritization update that show after the snapshots of the RAD tool. First list is for general fund programs, and you can get all of the individual program data and how they score against this desired result of safe community from that list. There's also a second list that has all of the programs for all the other funds besides the general fund. These lists are sorted in order of first the result itself, the community safety desired result, and then you show by department and divisions within department, and then when it gets into the programs for each division, it is categorized by the quartile that you can find that they scored in. So beginning with the highest quartile of quartile 4 and moving down to the quartile 1 level. I'm sorry, I have reversed that. The highest quartile of quartile 1 and then to quartile 4 at the bottom. So if you have any questions about the individual fund information or any of the information in this presentation today, you can contact me and I will be try to answer those questions, be able to try to do that. I can be reached at 303-651-8629, or you can email me at jim.golden@longmontcolorado.gov. Thanks very much.